A normal day like any other day. Everything happens in familiar peace. The people of Miyazaki are enjoying the cool afternoon, the light golden sunlight shining on the crowded streets. On the big streets, cars line up, the hustle and bustle of a coastal city, bustling markets. Cheerful laughter resounds from roadside cafes, while children play in the shade of green trees. At that time, no one thought that just a few minutes later, their lives would change forever. The clock read 4:43 p.m. A small sound like a distant roar began to echo from underground. The ground began to shake gently. Then the shaking gradually became more intense. Before anyone realized what was happening, the tremors became a powerful earthquake, shaking the entire city. E-N7. The whole of Miyazaki seemed to be caught in a terrible storm from underground. Ladies and gentlemen, we have just received urgent information about a magnitude 7.1 earthquake occurring off the coast of Miyazaki Prefecture. The earthquake occurred at 4:43 p.m., just a few minutes ago. Currently, southwestern Japan is facing one of the most serious natural disasters this year. According to initial reports, although the earthquake took place offshore, away from the coast of Miyazaki Prefecture, its strength was still enough to create strong tremors that could be felt in neighboring prefectures. Immediately after the earthquake occurred, authorities and warning systems quickly detected and analyzed the situation. Seismic signals indicated the earthquake had the potential to trigger a tsunami, and this information was quickly communicated to rescue agencies and the public. Meteorological and rescue agencies immediately issued an emergency tsunami warning, issued just minutes after the earthquake occurred, to minimize risks and impacts on people. The tsunami warning covers the coastal prefectures of Kochi, Miyazaki, Ehime, Oita, and Kagoshima, with tsunami waves predicted to be up to 1 meter high. Authorities have called on people in affected areas to quickly move to higher areas to avoid the risk of a tsunami. Evacuation instructions and maps have been released for people to easily follow and take necessary measures. Rescue teams and local authorities have deployed forces to assist with evacuations and provide continuous information. We are receiving the first images from the scene in Miyazaki Prefecture, where the earthquake occurred. As you can see, the tremors caused a lot of chaos. High-rise buildings in the city center were swaying. Some glass windows were broken, and furniture was broken and scattered everywhere. The scared faces of people trying to find safe shelter. Aftershocks continued to occur, causing additional slight shaking. Cracks began to appear on the road. Trees were broken, and electricity poles were damaged. Many families had to leave their property behind to escape. Meanwhile, public transportation such as subways and buses have stopped operating. Rescue teams are being quickly deployed to assist people. Ladies and gentlemen, we have just received information from Miyazaki Port that a tsunami hit at approximately 5:14 p.m. The wave height is estimated to be about 50 centimeters. Although not too high, the fast and strong water flow was enough to wash away items and cause flooding in the area. Some initial reports said the tsunami caused damage to some ships anchored near the shore. Other prefectures such as Kagoshima and Kochi also recorded waves ranging in height from 20 to 40 centimeters. In the immediate future, the damage does not appear to be too serious, but further risks from larger waves still exist. Authorities have emphasized that the situation remains very tense, and people need to continue to follow evacuation instructions and not return to coastal areas until it is safe to do so. We just received a notice from Chief Cabinet Secretary Yoshimasa Hayashi. He said that currently, no abnormalities have been recorded at nuclear power plants in the affected area, which partly reduces concerns about the risk of a double disaster. However, teams of engineers and experts are still continuing to check and evaluate the situation to ensure absolute safety. The Japanese government has also mobilized military, police, and rescue forces to support people in the most severely affected areas. Rescue teams have been fully equipped with vehicles and equipment to conduct relief and evacuation operations. Hospitals and medical centers in these areas have also been placed on alert, ready to receive injuries caused by earthquakes and tsunamis. Meanwhile, emergency response teams are conducting an initial damage assessment. Coastal areas such as Miyazaki, Kagoshima, and Kochi all reported flooding, mud, and serious damage to buildings and infrastructure. Many roads have been completely cut off, making access and relief difficult. People in these areas are facing many difficulties in finding safe shelter and necessary food sources. The situation in the affected areas is becoming more complicated as night falls. The power grid system was severely damaged, leading to widespread power outages in many coastal areas. Rescue teams are doing their best to reach isolated areas, but destroyed roads make their work extremely difficult. At hospitals, the number of injuries is rising as many people are trapped in collapsed buildings or injured by falling glass and furniture. Medical supplies are running out, and hospitals are working under tremendous pressure to treat all the victims. Temporary shelters have been set up in safe areas, but the supply of food and water is still not guaranteed. Meanwhile, experts are beginning to assess the extent of damage to infrastructure and buildings. Many old buildings that did not meet earthquake resistance standards were seriously damaged or completely collapsed. Roads, bridges, and public transportation systems were also not spared from the destruction, severely disrupting travel and relief efforts. The next morning, rescue work was significantly enhanced. Search and rescue teams dispatched from neighboring provinces have begun reaching the most severely affected areas. Military helicopters have been used to airdrop food, water, and medicine to people trapped in isolated areas. People in temporary shelter areas have been instructed on basic first aid and how to protect themselves against the risk of landslides and subsequent aftershocks. The government has also made plans to support homeless families by providing temporary housing and necessary financial resources. International organizations have begun sending humanitarian relief to Japan, including food, water, medical supplies, and professional rescue teams. International cooperation is playing an important role in helping affected people quickly stabilize their lives. The international response to this disaster has been swift and comprehensive. Many countries and international organizations have sent their condolences and pledged to support Japan through this difficult period. Relief teams from the United States, South Korea, and the European Union have arrived in Japan to support rescue efforts. Domestic and foreign businesses have also begun donating to support those affected. Online donation campaigns have been organized to provide food, water, and shelter to those who have lost their homes. The solidarity of the international community has created great motivation for the Japanese people in facing this disaster. Although the immediate risks from earthquakes and tsunamis have reduced, the long-term impacts of this disaster remain severe. Many affected areas are facing the risk of landslides, especially after the drainage system was damaged. Experts warn that infrastructure recovery could take months or even years. People in affected coastal areas are facing many challenges, from finding new places to live, rebuilding homes, to restoring economic activities. Many people have lost their homes, properties, and jobs, while local businesses are facing severe damage to infrastructure and resources. Post-disaster conditions such as depression and mental health problems are also on the rise, requiring intervention from medical professionals. The Japanese government has announced it will provide psychological and financial support programs for those affected and pledged to rebuild devastated areas with higher standards of earthquake resistance and natural disasters. The earthquake and tsunami disaster in Miyazaki and neighboring provinces left behind heavy and heartbreaking consequences. But amid the ruins, there are also signs of hope and rebirth. The Japanese people, with a spirit of resilience and solidarity, are working together to rebuild what was lost. The recovery process will not be easy, but with support from the government, the international community, and the determination of the Japanese people themselves, the future will be brighter. This is the time for us to look back at the lessons from this disaster, to build a safer, more resilient Japan against future natural disasters. Ladies and gentlemen, our program ends here. We will continue to update the situation in subsequent newsletters. Thank you for following, and I hope you are safe.